welcome to That Atheist Show. I'm Preston, that atheist dude.
And I'm Koni, that atheist lady. And tonight we have Jim Helton. He is, his group in Kentucky adopted the stretch of road in front of the Creation Museum. So he has all kinds of fun stuff for us to talk about that. And then we are also going to talk about Ben Carson tonight and
All kinds of crazy
that's
stuff he's been saying lately.
yeah, he's been up to some crazy stuff himself. So, Jim, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Jim Helton. I'm president and founder of the Tri-State Freethinkers. I'm also a consultant for the Secular Student Alliance and regional director for American Atheists.
Awesome.
We founded the group, the Tri-State Freethinkers, about 3 years ago, and we're up to 1,100 members. You know, being near the Creation Museum gets lots of people riled up, so it's a little bit easy to get membership.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people are just tired of all of the lies being spread by this museum that's totally not based in science.
Yeah,
call it a
Yeah.
museum, but there's nothing factual in the museum. It's a farce.
No. And so, what kind of exhibits have you seen at the Creation Museum that you think are the most ridiculous?
I mean, they have an atheist hallway, which basically shows Hitler, murder, rape. It shows all these horrible things, and they blame it on atheists.
What?
Hitler?
Yeah.
Do they forget that he was like not atheist?
He's Catholic, but that's the same to them.
Right.
Oh, it is, right? Because the Pope is the devil.
Yes. So they don't. My favorite exhibit is of Lucy, of an animal skull that's a partial skull, and they show 12, drawings of it completed. Instead of saying this is not evolution, this is 12 artists' interpretation of what it could look like. Scientists really don't know; they're guessing.
Don't we have an actual fossil of that?
Yeah, that's details.
Oh, yeah, because whenever I watched his debate with Bill Nye, he kept saying that, we don't really have any complete skeletons of anything. We just find some little bitty tiny bone, and then we just make up all this crap to go along with that little bitty tiny bone.
We presume with the presupposition.
So
Because we're the one with
yeah, when you first walk in there, you see actual evolution. It has a big sign that says, you have the Big Bang and the Earth over billions of years, and you're just reading this thing, go, this is evolution. They describe it perfectly. And it says, this is man's word. And then they go over to Genesis and tell you the 7-day creation story. And they go, this is God's word. Are you going to believe man's word or God's word?
That's an argument from authority right there. Appeal to authority.
And then plus, who wrote it down?
Yeah.
Man.
Some dudes.
And if you go to the Creation Museum, you have to see the movie. You can skip the planetarium; it's not very good, but they have the men in white, and the men in white come down like little angels to tell you all the things they won't teach you in science class, and tell you how to debunk your science teacher who's evil and is an atheist trying to lead you astray. And it is amazing.
So,
No,
your
they won't release
scientist
this
is an
outside the museum,
atheist.
though. They'll only allow you to watch that kind of thing in the museum, right?
I think you can buy that movie, and I would buy it. It's amazing. But we go. Our group goes every Christmas Eve because it's free.
Really?
So you can get your fill without giving them any money. My son started it because he's like, I want to go to the Creation Museum. I want to see what it's all about. And I'm like, how can I say no to that? So it became a tradition of our group that every Christmas Eve we go.
That's great. Now, how many people from your group of 11,000 actually attend your events and things like that when you guys get
1,100.
together? Or 1,100,
Well, we're not.
sorry.
We're 1,100. We're not. We haven't quite hit 11.
1,100. That's still a great number in Kentucky, though. That is an amazing amount of people.
We usually have between 20 and 30 go. That's about all that can stomach it at one time. It's pretty hard. The belated Edwin Kagan probably stated it best. It's not as bad as you think it is. It's much worse.
That's disheartening to hear.
Because we think it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, we already think it's
just from
so
what
fucking
we've
awful.
seen.
Well, then you have the Ark going on. What's going on with that? You're in Kentucky, so can you give us a little bit more insight as to what's happening?
Sure. Well, Answers in Genesis and Ken Ham are building the Ark Encounter. They're going to build a life-size replica of Noah's Ark. And, yeah. And it's going to be
taking them forever and tons of money and lots of advanced
Technology.
machinery.
Yeah, but they do have an Amish guy watching the machinery.
Are you serious?
Yes.
And,
So
wow.
they're building this ark, and it's not. They don't want you to call it an amusement park because it's not going to have any rides. So it's going to have a pool. Now they are going to do a Seven Plagues ride in the next phase, but they ran out of money.
Oh, what?
That's
What? Seven
It's
plagues?
going to be there.
Did you
Yeah, you know, like the raining frogs, the bugs, like the whole 9 yards. Like, and that's going to be a fun kids ride.
But how do you rain frogs without throwing actual frogs?
Is it going to be like rubber toy frogs? Just they could low budget that. Like, just have some dudes with some buckets up in the rafters just throwing frogs.
See, it's a good marketing ploy because we all want to get on it. I mean, you know,
That's
you want
what I'm
to see
saying.
it.
I want to know what they're doing with that. Like, how is that happening?
Yeah. So what people don't realize is the state of Kentucky offered them a bunch of money, but they didn't start it in time. So they had to scale it down. So then the state of Kentucky said, "Well, we'll give you $17 million in tax incentives for building this ark. We're also going to increase the highway roads." They redid all the roads, and we brought it to their attention. A lot of atheists in the area, it wasn't us, but a lot of atheists in the area brought it to their attention that, you know, you're using state money and they discriminate. You have to, when you go to Answers in Genesis, you have to say not only you're a Christian, that you believe in creationism.
Now,
So
that is just to attend, right? That's not even just to employ.
No, that's to employ.
Okay.
So to be employed, you have to sign this statement of faith. So we said you can't discriminate in your hiring practice because although Answers in Genesis is a nonprofit, they can discriminate. Mm-hmm. The Ark Encounter is a for-profit company, so they can't discriminate. The bizarre thing, in addition to, is you can give money to to the Ark Encounter, but they funnel it through Answers in Genesis, so you can deduct it off your taxes. Now, legally, I don't know how they do that.
Loopholes.
That doesn't sound
Loopholes.
very legal.
Yeah. So
Okay,
back to the $17 million. Got a little sidetracked. Yeah. So the state has the $17 million. They give it to Ken Ham, and they ask him to sign a thing saying he won't discriminate. Ken Ham refuses the $17 million and says, "I'm not going to take that," and now is currently suing the state of Kentucky for discriminating against him for discriminating.
Basically like what Kim Davis did.
Yes.
So Kentucky is just full of fucking retards. Full of theistic retards.
Yeah, it is due to open. They keep pushing it back, but they got it late of summer of 2016. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 2017.
What is happening?
Okay, so let me get this straight, right? So, one really old drunk guy supposedly built this ark, but Ken Ham and his big old crew can't make this damn thing happen.
Even with $17 million.
Even with $17 million. Okay, and I want to step back to, you said that the state of Kentucky redid the highways and stuff to accommodate?
Yes.
That is kind of amazing, actually. Now, in Kentucky, I'll assume that the politics there, the politicians running a business, are religious themselves, right?
Oh, yeah, the governor, and Ken Ham are taking pictures. I can't argue the highways, meaning if you're going to build things and people are going to come, the state of Kentucky's basically like, we don't care what you are, we'll build roads.
Yeah.
And then this pop up. So I have less of a problem with that one. The problem I have is, in the county where it's located, they leaked it that they were coming. So because they leaked it, property values went up, and it cost, Answers in Genesis more money to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So the county gave them like 100 acres for free and like $180,000 in cash. I'm not sure on the exact number. It was over $100,000 in cash, saying sorry, it cost you more money.
Wait, so they just gave them some land?
And they gave them cash.
Now back to the.
I wish somebody would give me some land.
Well, back to the religious politicians. Are these politicians simply theists, or are they young Earth creationists that fully support this museum type deal?
I think it's hard to say. I think some of them are young Earth creationists. Some of them support it for votes. Other ones are looking at it. It's in a poor area, and they think they were sold a bill of goods that this is going to employ a bunch of people and save their town, which is just not true.
Right.
It's going to minimum wage jobs for the summer, and that's it. So
wow.
It's not going to do all their things promising. So we were originally going to do a billboard. Now, our original billboard that we had planned for next year said, the major obstacle to equality is religion, which I'm a big fan of that statement. But someone said, Jim, are you guys doing anything about the Ark encounter? And I was like, you should do a billboard with that. So we put our billboard on hold, and we redrew another one. And I should have the drawing tomorrow. I wish I could show it to you now. But it basically has the Ark, a drunk Noah, and it says, Immorality Park, celebrating genocide, incest, and drunkenness. So that will be going up. Hopefully, we're going to have a crowdfunding page starting in a couple weeks, and we're going to put that out. And if you donate to the cause and you give us $1,000 to help put up this billboard, we'll put your face in the ocean clawing at the boat, drowning in the ocean.
That is how you fucking do it right there.
That is great. I wish I had $1,000. I want to be dying in the ocean.
I would totally fucking do that immediately.
And you're going to be sounding with a unicorn and a T-Rex.
A unicorn and a T-Rex.
Yeah,
now, I have the...
Could I be the T-Rex? Like...
We're talking about having a contest for Noah. If you take pictures of Noah with your favorite alcohol and a book, and you give us enough money, we'll let you win the contest. We can be bribed.
That's
so
amazing.
you could be Noah?
You can be Noah.
Noah.
Just stand
You
there.
can be Noah.
No, I don't have all that money, though, to be Noah. So but how great would that be?
Now, well, you sent me these pictures here before the show of these two exhibits. Do you have them to be able to look over them and explain them as I show them here?
I do not have them in front of me now.
Alright, well, we have the Cowboys and Dragons one. Just to kind of give an idea of what is found in the Creation Museum, it says, I'll just read off what is here. It says, on April 26, 1890, the Tombstone Epitaph newspaper printed the following incredible report. The report goes, found in the desert. A strange monster discovered and killed on the Huachuca Desert. A winged monster resembling a huge alligator with an extremely elongated tail and an immense pair of wings was found on the desert between the Whetstone and Huachuca Mountain last Sunday by two ranchers who were returning home. The two men, who were on horseback and armed with Winchester rifles, pursued the monster and succeeded in getting near enough to open fire with their rifles and wounding it. The monster had only 2 feet. The head, as near as they could judge, was about 8 feet long, the jaws being thickly set with stunning, sharp teeth. Its eyes were as large as a dinner plate and protruded about halfway from the head. The total length from tip to tip was about 160 feet. The wings were compounded of a thick and nearly transparent membrane. Then it says below it in the Creation Museum's quote, "Is this just another tall tale? Or is it possible that these cowboys encountered the legendary Thunderbird, or Piazza, of Native American lore, a creature whose descriptions remind one of a pterosaur?" So they're claiming, because of an article written in 1890, that these cowboys got into a firefight with a dragon.
See, what most people don't know is they take the Bible literally. So dragons are real, unicorns, cockatrices, satyrs, leviathans, like all these things are in the Bible, and they're all real. You know what's not in the Bible, though, which is amazing? The word dinosaur. So they built a museum about dinosaurs in the Creation Museum, and dinosaurs are nowhere mentioned in the Bible.
Behemoth was a dinosaur. Haven't you seen that video where Ken Ham has all the kids singing, Behemoth was a dinosaur?
Really? That's
yeah.
Because there's so many dinosaurs that are not behemoths. His attributes of a behemoth, of what they're described as, do not match many dinosaurs. There's so many fucking dinosaurs that have been found.
Yeah.
And dinosaurs were vegetarians. All of them.
Exactly.
But they love T-Rex.
Right. Because they rode them on saddleback until Eve sinned, the original sin, and that's when they became meat eaters.
Right, and then
That's how they
God was just like, well, I'll just wait a little while. I'm going to kill off all the dinosaurs, keep the humans here. throw a flood in there, try to fix it all again, and then, you know, when it doesn't work, I'm just going to keep threatening everybody with sending my son back. It's pretty much that's pretty much God's plan right there. It's fucking crazy.
Not a very good plan. Okay, so let's pull up the pictures of the signs that are vandalized for Jesus.
Yes, now this one is from Texas. The Texas Orange County Atheists, I'm pretty sure is what's blacked out there. So basically this was vandalized. Somebody was driving through, saw a word that they didn't like on a sign, started
Atheists.
spray painting all over it. Yeah, so what they have here, to anybody that's not able to watch the video, bunch of crosses. It says I love God, and then more crosses, and then you've got another picture of another sign on the same exact road but further down with all the same things on it. It's got crosses, it's got I love God, Christ spray painted in red with a little heart in the middle. It's just like,
I heart Christ.
it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah,
have you guys experienced anything similar to this? Anything of this sort?
No, believe it or not, when we adopted the highway in front of the creation, we actually have 4 signs. So no matter which way you go, you have to see our sign going to it. And Ken Ham wrote a blog about us, thanking us for keeping the highway clean going to Creation Museum. But basically, we're all going to burn in hell. And nobody's vandalized the sign. We had a truck hit one during a snowstorm, but he wiped out everything. So I don't think that was vandalism. I just think he can't drive.
Yeah.
And the state repaired it for free and actually put it in a better location. What most states have, though, with the highway is if the signs get damaged and they get in a political thing, they have the right not to repair them because they don't want to just keep putting them up.
Yeah.
You mean if they're continuously being vandalized for the message?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, they don't get involved.
Yeah, in the article that I read about the sign that we're showing the picture of, that we just showed the picture of, it said that that they signed a contract whenever they adopted the stretch of road that if the signs were vandalized, that they would be responsible for the cost of replacing them. But the city is actually replacing them for free for them this time because the sign's only been up for 2 weeks. Like, they just adopted it. The sign only went up 2 weeks ago. So
that's a great first impression.
Yeah, so the city is actually going to replace the signs for them for free this time. But who knows if they will continue to replace the signs for free if
who knows how often it'll be vandalized at this point. It's only been 2 freaking weeks.
Yeah, and it was already vandalized that badly.
Well, I have another one here from California also.
Yeah.
The Atheist United of SLO. I forgot what SLO is for. It's some county or some city over there. It just has a big red X across it. Across the entire logo of Atheist United. So this is not just a southern, redneck type thing to where you could think, when you think of Texas, you think, oh, these southern guys.
Of course, your stuff's going to get vandalized in Texas. It's also happening in California.
Yeah, it's also happening in California, which is typically pretty liberal, I think. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, but what this really says to me is that there's Christians or theists that think that atheists aren't even good enough to pick up their trash.
Yeah,
like that's pretty bad. Like, they don't want us around at all. They don't even want us picking up the trash that they throw out on the highway. They would rather destroy something that was paid for with tax dollars than have us clean up their trash.
And Jim, how does that work? You have a group of 1,100, so when you do clean up the highways, you have, like you said earlier, a quarterly setup?
Yeah, we do a quarterly cleanup. You do about a 2-mile stretch, so you really need a minimum about 10 people. 10 to 20 people is all you need. You get more than that, but you need 10 to 20 people. You can do it in less than 2 hours. It's a good time. I would encourage every group to adopt the highway. One, it keeps the environment, your roads, your county. It's a good deed. But I would also add, if you can strategically place it by a mega church or a creation museum, it's a lot easier to get turnout than if you just do it on old Route 5 and nobody cares about.
Absolutely.
So if you want people to strategically place it. And it's free. It doesn't cost your group anything. The state or city puts up the signs for free and everything. So we've been doing it. This is going on our 3rd year now.
That's awesome. It brings awareness to atheism because people are out there doubting their beliefs and they don't think that anybody else worth following or worth talking to is also doubting their belief. They think that if you're doubting your belief, it's a bad thing, and that everybody else who doubts their belief is bad. So once they see that other people are adopting highways and cleaning up trash and things like that, they might think, oh,
wow, look,
they're not so selfish as we think.
Yeah, they're not the horrible people that my church taught me they were.
Let me share my favorite membership story. We had a member driving by with her spouse on a motorcycle, saw our sign, and almost wrecked them both. And it was like, did you see that? We need to join this group. Well, right about that time, she got diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer. So everybody was praying for her, and everybody was telling her, all these things, with her prayers. She was literally disgusted. And what she kept thinking through this whole ordeal was, I'm going to survive this, and as soon as I get better, I'm going to join that group and make a difference. And she said that was her motivation to get through chemo. And as soon as she got healthy, the first thing she did was join our group and look us up, and she's one of our more active members now because we adopt highway. We've gotten multiple membership from that highway sign. It is free advertising.
That's awesome. We need to adopt a stretch of highway, Preston.
Well, what I do is I'm in New York City, so I go around with stickers and I post them on street lamps and things like that where other people post their advertising and like where bills are posted. So we try and get something going with that. But adopt the highway, that's perfect because people are going through the state. They're going from state to state. They're going across the country. Get all kinds of people from all over the place that are willing to support you at that point. Just by seeing a sign. That's pretty awesome. Now, should we talk about the recent speech that you did for Planned Parenthood? Of what's going on in the environment with that right now?
Well, so in Ohio, because we're in the tri-state area, Ohio Senate just voted to defund Planned Parenthood. The pro-life movement was given unlimited time, and some of them spoke for over a half hour. When we went up there to speak and let the women share their voices, they were given 90 seconds. They upped it 30 more seconds each, so they end up getting 2 minutes. And they were only allowed to talk for, I think, like 2 hours, and they were cut off. We had, on the rally, we had almost 500 people there in the evening, and in the morning we filled the hearing, the Senate room, and they just didn't care. Their minds were already made up. They passed 16 bills to hamper Planned Parenthood and abortion, and this is the biggest one to defund it, and they're getting away with it.
That's
all over hoax videos, right? That's their thing.
Like, the excuses they use, that videos that have been debunked, is these videos show them taking babies, fetuses, and slitting them from their chin all the way to their head and taking out their brains and keeping them alive long enough to sell their body parts.
Now,
it was amazing.
That's not even true.
But there is no video. They've never provided the video, right?
And the senators agreed with them. And here's the other crazy part. Tissue donation is legal in the states that were doing it. But in Ohio, it's illegal. So Planned Parenthood in Ohio didn't even do tissue donation. So it doesn't even matter if Planned Parenthood did that. It didn't happen in Ohio. None of that was going on. So they used these videos that didn't happen. And the senators' agreement, facts meant nothing. They provided 291 doctors' offices that could take over Planned Parenthood for them when Planned Parenthood got defunded. They listed dentist office, high schools with a local nurse, and women's facilities that didn't offer any contraceptives or STD testings. Yes.
What good is it if they don't offer STD testing? So wait, women can go in there for like cancer screenings, but they're not going to get STD tested while they're in there?
You can go there and get your teeth cleaned, and that counts as women's health care.
That's whatever.
According to Ohio.
That is so stupid.
That doesn't even make sense.
And because they just defunded Planned Parenthood in Texas also.
Yeah, and so we decided to have a people's hearing at the University of Cincinnati's campus. So we're going to host that tomorrow, where we're going to allow women to actually speak as long as they need to, so that they can tell their stories. And we invited all the local news, the press, so they can tell their story, since the government didn't want to hear it.
What kind of turnout are you expecting so far?
It's supposed to pour down rain, and so far we expect over 100 people to come out in the rain, even in the rain, to tell their story. They know
it's going to rain.
They know it's going to rain. The winter's just going to absolutely suck. And we told them, we support Planned Parenthood, rain or shine.
Yeah, that's good. Sweet
Yeah, well, a few episodes ago, we talked about the eSure birth control device, and I got kicked out of the eSure problems group because I would not jump on the bandwagon of hating Planned Parenthood over those fake videos. So that is like how crazy people are about it. It's like I am having adverse effects from a birth control device, and Planned Parenthood spoke on our behalf at the eSure hearing, the FDA eSure hearing, and then everybody in the group was like, Planned Parenthood's evil. We don't want them on our side because they're evil and blah blah blah. And I'm like,
they have a contraceptive inside of them.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is like we are having all like there's like 20,000 women in that group that are having issues with this birth control device, and Planned Parenthood spoke and like they said that they didn't think that it should be outright banned, which that pissed everybody off because Planned Parenthood said it shouldn't be outright banned and pulled off the market, but they thought that women should be given the true information about the device, which is what I've been saying the whole time. It's like I'm like, hey, let women know the real risks, the real failure rate, etc. And that's what the Planned Parenthood rep said. And I'm like, she was being totally sane. Like the Planned Parenthood rep was completely sane and a wonderful witness for us to speak to the FDA because she was actually saying things that the FDA, actually cared about hearing. Not just crazy emotional stuff. It was like, statistics like.
Yeah, but Republicans don't care about facts.
They don't care about that. And so I got kicked out of the group because they were all throwing a fit about it. And I was like, hey, she really helped us. Like, what she said was awesome. We should be really happy that Planned Parenthood spoke on our behalf.
They're not even fully politically on that side, are they? They're just being...
No, I don't understand. They're crazy. I don't know. But I got kicked out of and I was just like, what the crap just happened here? Because I was...
What people don't understand is abortion is a small percentage of what Planned Parenthood does.
Yeah.
But what I tell people when they start arguing it's a high percentage, I'm like, if 100% of what they did was abortion, I would still support them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They don't understand that that's part of healthcare. And in countries that ban abortion, a woman dies every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they're botched abortions. Or a pregnancy that needs to be terminated because the woman is going to die if it continues. It's... Like, there's a reason why we have advanced as a society beyond women commonly dying in childbirth. Now it's like, holy crap, somebody died in childbirth and we're all surprised. But that used to be just normal. Like,
you used to expect it.
Yeah, it was like you just knew that you were probably going to die when you had a baby. It wasn't rare like it is now. And
in Ohio, the infant mortality rate is the equivalent to a third world country. So having a baby in a third world country is the same as having it in Ohio for survival. And yet they are shutting down Planned Parenthood after Planned Parenthood every year.
That's crazy.
They had an outbreak for STDs in a county, and they had nowhere to test it because they shut the Planned Parenthood down, and there was no way they could even test people.
Well, they could go to the dentist.
Yeah, get their teeth. That'll.
That's
Jeez. Okay, so... I don't even understand that. But people are irrationally upset over abortion whenever, these clinics that do abortions, they do so much more. And because Planned Parenthood's like 3% of what they do.
Well, they don't have actual records saying every abortion that they do. They don't keep records of things like that. What they base some of that on is how many people go in there, or they don't keep record of how many people go in there and are pregnant, so there is no way to fully track how many abortions happen and stuff like that. But the fact of what does happen in there is like in the millions, and there's no possible way that 94% of what they do is abortions.
Their abortion. I mean,
is the abortion they track, or is it
people
just
blow it way out of proportion? So
yeah,
one of the things they do, which most people know, is sex education. They track abortion because when people fund them, they think like they claim money's being used to lobby. So what they don't understand is when you do a Medicaid payment for Planned Parenthood actually lose money on that client. But they turn that into the government having to showing what services they do, and then they get reimbursed. So they're only getting reimbursed for services rendered. So they have to track everything, and it can't be reimbursed unless it's a special circumstance, for an abortion. So no abortions are being funded by the government.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people are like. They're like, I don't want my tax dollars going to pay for that. And I'm like, okay, well, but it's not.
It's not. I think it should, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not. But because women typically have to pay out of pocket for an abortion.
Correct.
Unless they have a private insurance that covers it, which most don't.
So you're talking about $600 out of pocket.
And you're looking
and
at Hobby Lobby's decision last year and things like that happening too.
Yeah. So they made it really difficult. So one of the things Ohio did, which is they did a couple things which were amazing. They have a waiting period. So like if you're say an hour or two away, you have to drive to Planned Parenthood and see your doctor like 72 hours ahead of time. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to wait. So what people were doing was seeing a clinic where they lived. Ohio passed a law saying you have to see the exact doctor doing the procedure. So you have to take off work, drive down a couple hours, drive back, come back a couple days later. Then, so they try to make it as inconvenient as possible. Then they passed a law saying you had to have a transfer agreement with a hospital, which is ridiculous because if you had an emergency, the ambulance would just come.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to do. Then they did one better. After they passed the transfer agreement, then they passed a law that said the transfer agreement cannot be with a public hospital.
It can't be with a public hospital. So what? It has to be with like a religious hospital who won't do it?
Correct.
The fuck?
And so then, therefore, they can't get a transfer agreement, which means they have to close.
That is fucking ridiculous.
Yes,
That
so
is so
Planned Parenthood
stupid.
is...
You're talking about if an emergency happens in Planned Parenthood, right?
Yes, they don't need one. They've only... The Planned Parenthood in Cincinnati, I think in the last 20-something years, has only had one person go to the emergency room, and they probably didn't have to go as more precautionary, I think. So it's a very abortion's a very safe procedure. It's very rare that happens. And if it did happen, an ambulance, you don't need an agreement with the hospital because if you have an emergency and say, hey, they're going to
just
come.
call 911 and say, hey, we got an emergency over here.
So the transfer agreement is totally irrelevant, and it's
Exactly.
unconstitutional that it can't be public.
Right.
Exactly. Also, what a lot of people don't realize is that they are making it harder for women who have miscarriages to be able to go and get the D&C procedure done that to remove the dead fetus. Because it's basically the same procedure, and I personally know a lot of women who have had miscarriages and Catholic hospitals will not do a D&C, so they've had to go to like Planned Parenthood or somewhere that does abortions to get the D&C procedure done.
Yeah.
And so if they close down these Planned Parenthoods, then that's making the woman go through like a natural miscarrying process, which can be very dangerous because they can get an infection. And then plus the emotional turmoil of having to go through a more painful and drawn out process to just get that it could just be done and they could move on and get to the grieving process. So
I can speak to that firsthand because my wife was pregnant and they said the baby's basically heart stopped. There's no way the baby's going to survive. It's dead. We was at a Catholic hospital because I was Catholic at the time and didn't know any better. They forced her to give birth to a dead baby.
Yeah.
They forced her to. And there was no other option. Now, I don't know if that was the safest option, but there was no other option presented to us because, like you said, this is the way you're going to do it. And we just said, okay, not knowing any better, not knowing that there was other options or safer options. And the emotional trauma that put on her was amazing. It was horrible.
Yeah, because a D&C is the same procedure as an abortion, and people don't want, whenever they make it hard for abortion to happen, they make it hard for a woman to get a D&C if she needs it, and it is more dangerous to give birth to go through labor like that, like since they induce labor, like your body is not it's not ready to do that. Or in some cases, they will, and rather than inducing labor, they will just make the woman carry the dead baby inside of her until her body naturally goes into labor to get rid of the dead baby. And I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Why do they think that this is okay?
It's crazy.
We shouldn't have Catholic hospitals doing healthcare. Let me give you 2 other examples. Yeah, but my wife had a C-section and she was going to get her tubes tied. We didn't want to have any more kids. And they guilted her and fear-mongered her not to do it because they wouldn't do it. And said, what if your kid dies? And so we didn't do it. And we should have. Now, the interesting thing is American Atheists is proposing legislation. And I think the Secular Coalition of America is on board that basically the new legislation, and I hope this passes, says this. If you are a religious hospital, you must give a list of services you refuse to provide your clients before they come in the hospital. Like when they come in for treatment, you have to provide them, here's things we won't do that are medically possible.
Yeah.
As disclosure. And I hope that legislation passes so people can know to walk out the door.
Yeah, now what if you're in such an emergency that you can't just walk out the door? Would you have to pay for a transfer to a better hospital?
So that's the interesting thing. Like in my wife's scenario, all the hospitals in northern Kentucky are Catholic.
Exactly.
That's it. You have to go out of state or travel an hour and a half, 2 hours to find another one. There are no options. There was a case in, I think, San Francisco where a woman wanted a procedure done. And I don't know if it was getting her tubes tied or something along that. And the Catholic hospital wouldn't do it. But the nearest hospital was 3 hours away. She sued, and she got an exception where the hospital agreed to do it just for her because it was like 3 hours away.
Yeah.
Now, they're suing to say this shouldn't be an exception, that this should be for anyone who wants it. So the Catholic hospitals take so much money of government funds, and a lot of times, like in my area, they're the only option. It is a huge...
They're the only thing in my town also.
That's fucking crazy. Here in New York City, there's a lot of Jewish hospitals. Like
I'm sure they have stuff like that too that they won't do.
Well, they have all of them have a Sabbath elevator, to where on Sabbath day the elevator will go up and stop at each floor so that you don't have to press any buttons.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have that in a lot of residential buildings also, but there's one newer structure that's like the Jews of that community are trying to sue the building to have it installed. And all the other people are like, we don't fucking follow your belief. You want us to stop at each floor on our way home from a long day of work? Are you kidding me? Like, stay in your home. Don't do anything. It's Sabbath. Just go rest. What are you doing?
Quit trying to trick God.
The what?
Quit trying to trick God.
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
though. That's what
You
it
have to
is.
watch our episode about the loopholes.
Yeah, they have all
And
kinds
you
of
need to watch
crazy
our
shit.
Easter episode also because with just...
Do you show the Garfunkel and Oates video, the loophole?
Oh, no, I love that, though. You gotta show that one day. That's more focused on, I guess... Well, no, that can go for Jewish also. Definitely.
Yeah, I so want to play that at every meeting we have, but I just said I just can't do it.
That's
But every time-
hilarious, though.
Okay, so now I think is a good time to move on to Ben Carson because that's probably what a lot of people have been waiting for us to talk about is how crazy Ben Carson is. He's just I'm just a little bit crazy. Just kidding. I'm
Well,
not
like, for the longest time, he's just been kind of in headlines because he's the neuroscientist, he's really smart, he has all these crazy ideas about how countries should be run by the Bible, but just in the last week, he's come out very publicly, as a presidential candidate nonetheless, saying the craziest shit. He literally wants to ban liberal speeches in college universities. Just liberal ones. He wants to have an investigation go in there before they speak, read everything they're writing, and if he determines that it's propaganda, that person can't speak at the university anymore. Like, what?
Yeah.
That is
He
just
basically
insane.
described a theocracy. Like he's going to be a theocratic dictator of what's
literally.
allowed to be said at universities. Public universities. We have to specify that. Public
Well, you
universities.
also
But
had
like
it-
the religious universities are going to be, having liberal propaganda anyway. They have, like Liberty University has people like Sarah Palin come talk.
Yeah, and he's constantly likening atheists to terrorists.
Yeah, he does, and he's definitely got people riled up on that atheists aren't real Americans bandwagon again.
It's like the Cold War again.
He's also wants to ban abortion under all circumstances.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's
He's
cool
like,
with
and he always pulls the as a physician, and I'm like, you work on brains, not uteruses.
Right. He separated like a Siamese twin, which would have pretty
Yeah,
much-
wall in utero or something. But so I guess he has worked in a uterus, but that's not the same thing.
And he has worked on fetal tissue donation, which if that's not a him.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
That's
I mean,
Yes,
funny.
fetal tissue
it's part of his-
donation is extremely important for medical research.
Research,
like,
yes.
I told, and then there was, but right before, this is what got me kicked out of that group that I was talking about earlier, is they were saying how it's disgusting and horrible, and there's never any reason that anybody should ever be cutting around on a little baby. And I said, well, the next time you go into your doctor, if they say that you need a procedure done or you need a medication, or you better, make sure that you ask them that there's never been any kind of stem cell research or fetal tissue research, that none of that stuff has been involved in the research or the development of that procedure or medication, because chances are they're not going to be able to find it. Like,
If they feel that way, then stop circumcising people, please.
Right.
It's barbaric and has no health benefit in the modern world.
Right. It really doesn't. It was back for
No.
when you just bathe maybe once every 2 months.
Yeah, if you're in a third world country that doesn't have access to running water, it can help you a little bit.
A little
But
bit is
the-
the key word, though.
Yeah, but in no other medical field do we cut off something preventative. Meaning, I don't cut off my fingers to avoid hangnails.
Right.
Like that would stop hangnails. I don't cut them off to avoid that. I mean, it just makes no sense to genital mutilate a baby.
Right. If you
It's a
grow
religious
older-
ritual. That's it, and we still do it all the time.
even if you're a young child and you gain an infection down there, of course I would understand that. Or if you're growing up into an adult and you're gaining infections there, yes, that's perfectly fine. But just out of the fucking womb, come on, like they don't know what the hell's going on. There's nothing going on. It's so ridiculous. I'm circumcised and I just found out that it's because my dad is an atheist. He's always been an atheist. My mom was a Catholic and I went to Catholic school, so when my dad asked her about the whole circumcision idea, she said, yes, it's going to happen. And he's like, but why? I'm not circumcised. I'm fine. I think he should be the same way. And she's like, it is not up for discussion. It is a religious belief, period. And boom, I'm circumcised. Just because of that.
Since what is that a Catholic religious belief?
It's a Christian thing, Jewish thing. It's not just
It's
Catholic.
not exclusive
But
to
if-
anything, yeah.
But if you're Jewish, you're hardcore Jewish, they will cut the tip off and the rabbi
Yeah, that's gross.
with his mouth.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
what's going on here in New York City.
And you giving babies herpes and killed a few of them.
Yeah.
And they say it's religious practice.
Yeah, here in the city, de Blasio recently just voted to actually protect them with that, because he had signed up for like a consent form, so that the parents knew what they were doing to their kids, basically. And the rabbis sued, saying that was like discriminatory and like going against their beliefs and their rituals. So Blasio actually backed them up and said, oh yeah, you're right, let's just take out those consent forms. It's like, what the fuck?
So-
Okay, but
I want to propose a question to you two real quick.
Uh-huh.
So if you had to pick a Republican candidate,
oh, geez.
which one would you pick?
Probably what is it, Ron Paul, right?
Rand.
Rand
Paul. Yeah, Ron was his dad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably him, I guess.
I don't know.
Meets
He's
all
batshit
evils.
insane too.
They're all crazy.
They're all
Uh,
fucking batshit insane.
They're all, if you think about it, they're all horrible.
They're all
And then Ben
terrible.
Carson's the tip of the iceberg, but I don't even think he's the worst one.
Well, the
Well, he
thing
might
about
be.
Ben Carson right now that makes him worth talking about is that he's second in polls. He's rising right behind Trump,
No.
which we already think that Trump is freaking.
He surpassed Trump.
Has
Are you-
he?
today?
In Iowa, Trump. So
That's
Trump doesn't know what to do. He just, I guess, like this week.
So somehow in the Republican Party and the GOP Party, a fucking businessman and a neurosurgeon became the top two political candidates.
And they're both completely incompetent and insane.
Yeah, I mean, I read a joke the other just I think 2 days ago where it was like, this really brings up an important question is, we have been overestimating the intelligence of brain surgeons this entire fucking time. Like this whole, oh well, you know, it's not rocket science or it's not brain surgery. Well, we got to rethink that now, because if he could perform brain surgery and he still just completely deny evolution and science in general.
Yeah, he's a creationist. So just because
like a full creationist.
What I don't understand though is he says he's a Seventh-day Adventist, but Seventh-day Adventists aren't creationists. So
well,
what the hell
I'm
is
sure
he?
There are sects there are. We don't even know how many freaking sects of every denomination is out there.
Well, Seventh-day Adventists aren't very like spread out.
Right,
they're pretty
not.
like they've got like, you know, their little head council that says what's okay and what's not okay, and the rest of the churches are like supposed to follow suit, you know? They're not supposed to.
I doubt they all do though.
Yeah, but still, it confuses me because it's not like he's non-denominational or something.
Ben
He
Carson in general
claims
is confusing. He's just
nothing he does makes sense.
doesn't mean you're smart in other areas of your life. He
Right.
you know, he might be intelligent in this one area, but he's totally ignored his education on the rest of his life.
right. And I read a biography
Yeah.
earlier. It turns out that his mom married his Baptist minister father when she was 13 years old. Later on in life, he was around 10 years old, and she found out that his father was a bigamist and had another secret family on the side. So she left with Ben and his brother and worked 2 jobs and never came home, worked so hard that she was able to provide for them and all that stuff, and would sew Goodwill clothes together to make new clothes for them. And all these crazy things, and Ben Carson was just like, my dream is to just become a doctor because our medical benefits are so weak. We have no medical help, so I want to be the one to help out the helpless, the ones that have no help.
And now he doesn't want to let them have health care.
That's what I'm saying. Like, now he's become Uncle Tom. He has literally become Uncle Tom. He's just like, you know, black people, you should all be blamed because you're all fucking victimizing yourselves. You gotta just work harder and do all this stuff and ignore all of the oppression that you've experienced this entire time. And it's not even just black people. It's like just minorities overall. And he's just
because
going
he's
with it.
basically said, "Well, look, guys, I did it.
Yeah,
Why can't you?" And it's like
it's
doesn't
really ignorant.
that. Yeah.
It's
The
very
greatest
He wanted to do it so that he could help other people who came from situations like him be able to become successful. But now he's like, "Oh well, I did it somehow. So if I did
you
it,
gotta
it's
figure
easy."
it out, bitch.
Yeah.
The craziest thing is the upper class has said to the middle class, while they're getting screwed, it's not us that's screwing you. Look, it's the lower class. Look below, not up.
Right.
So they convince the middle class that it's the lower class screwing them and not the upper class.
So what?
Yeah,
they have
like
there are 2 class. They're out of 3. I mean, that's very simplified. But out of 3 classes, the 2 lower classes are now fighting each other instead of focusing on the higher up.
on the
class.
one that's actually doing the things wrong to us all. Yeah.
But what's really harmful about Ben Carson is that because he is black, because he has this persona, the Republican Party are able to say, look, we're not racist. Look at Ben Carson. We love that guy because he wants all the values.
Yeah,
that we
and
want.
I have literally seen people say that. They're like, "I hate Obama, and you can't tell me it's because he's black because I'm voting for Ben Carson."
But they want to kill all the gays.
And I'm just like, "No, dude, you're still racist."
They literally want to kill all the gays. All the Ben Carson supporters are like, he wants to like mutilate gays.
Yeah,
so
because
let's do it.
remember that pastor that came into my work that one time
Yeah,
that I
tell us
told you about?
that. Definitely.
Okay, so this pastor and his family came into my work one day, and they were talking about how they want Ben Carson to be president because he is going to rule the White House according to the Bible, and when he becomes president, we'll be able to get rid of all these gays.
That's just
Like literally saying that that Ben Carson's going to make it illegal to be gay, and we'll be able to get rid of all the gays. And they were missionaries in like Uganda and and Kenya and stuff.
They inspired our episode of evangelism to where we exposed.
Yeah, they inspired the
over
episode about evangelism because I looked into the organization that they were missionaries for, and it was really screwed up organization, and so we did a whole episode about it. But they said that they wanted Ben Carson to be president because even though he's black, I forgot that part. They actually said the words, even though he's black, he's going to run the White House according to the Bible, and
theocratic.
He'll make it illegal to be gay, like down in Uganda.
And Mike Huckabee, he's super extremist or whatever, but he's a Mormon, isn't he? So that kind of separates him from most of the...
No, Huckabee's not, I don't think, a Mormon.
No, Huckabee is not Mormon. No. Huckabee is like the crazy Duggar.
He's an evangelist, that's what he is.
Yes.
Yeah, he's an evangelist.
Because he was at the Free Kim Davis thing, and you know, again,
and it's all about the Duggars.
You know, we were there when they sentenced her, so that was interesting.
You were there?
Yeah, we were there. We were in Ashland, and that's where we brought our banner that said, you know, there's no real free thought community down in Kentucky, that part of Kentucky. And we had our banner that was 6 foot long that said, the major obstacle to equality is religion.
That's awesome.
And people came out of the woodwork and said, I'm secular, I'm a humanist, I'm an atheist, or I'm agnostic. They approached us all over the place, and it was like, all you have to do, that's the point of coming out of the closet. If you're out and you're standing there, there's more people than you think. Mm-hmm. And the preachers on their megaphones yelled at us for a long time, and that was kind of fun, specifically to us.
That brings more attention to you, which is perfect.
Yeah, we had some good.
They're like, whoa.
We made a lot of the local news. We didn't make the national news because they were further into the crowd, and we didn't. I just couldn't handle that crazy. There was literally people for like 6 hours, face to face, spitting at each other, yelling at each other, the whole time of just craziness. I can tell you some of my favorite signs from that, though. Not to get off topic, but. The one guy had a sign that said, you know, sodomy is a sin. And this guy had this dry erase board, and he was going around from sign to sign, and he wrote, everybody loves a little sodomy. And then he would go to the next protester, and he was counter-protesting with his dry erase board every sign he saw. And I'm like, dude, you were the most brilliant guy here. He's like, not really, I'm the laziest. I went to Staples just for this, and they were all sold out of poster board. This is all they had. So I'm brilliant by default. So he was great. Another guy had a sign that said, Kim Davis, fuck you. That was... So there were some good signs there. The one that offended me the most was the crazy Christian sign where her daughter was wearing she had a hate gay sign and a Doctor Who shirt. And I'm like, that's blasphemy. You should not be allowed to wear Doctor Who.
How can you hate gays and watch Doctor Who? They've got a lesbian lizard lady.
So that's a problem. I was like, okay, I can handle the preacher telling me I'm going to burn in hell. I can handle all this. That's what bothered me the most. I was like, I need to go talk. Yeah.
You can't be a homophobe and ride around in the TARDIS. It's not allowed.
Well, he's open to all freaking races, all freaking species. He's cool.
I mean, come on. There's Jack Harkness.
I don't know. I never watched too much Doctor Who. I've only seen
Jack
like a few episodes.
Jack Harkness will do anything. He's like, "Hi, brick wall. You're looking sexy today."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You gotta watch Doctor Who, Preston. What the hell?
Yeah, I gotta see more of it. But
moral of the story: Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The moral of the whole episode.
We got a TARDIS hanging out here every day of episode, and you're not a Whovian? What's going on with that?
Well, Jim, what's next for you guys? Are you, as you expand as a group, because we want to promote more groups starting up and bringing more people to get involved with the movement. Not even that it's a movement, but just for people to come together and talk and just share ideas with people like-minded. What's the next level after reaching such a number as 1,100?
So we're taking on a lot of projects. We're battling sex education in Kentucky because they spend $17 million teaching abstinence-only sex education. So we're going after counties now. We're going to go after the state next year. We're going to try to propose a bill that says sex education must be scientifically and medically accurate.
Good.
I know that's
and it needs to actually talk about sex.
right. So that is on our agenda. We have already started that process. We got a resolution passed in the city of Cincinnati, Cities for CEDAW. I highly recommend people to look that up. All over the country, it basically says you need to treat women equally, pay them equally, stop human trafficking, domestic violence, all these things. The city of Cincinnati passed it in record time, saying, yes, we're for women. And then later this year, we'll fund it. And then later this year, they're like, no, we ain't going to fund that. We just want to pass the resolution saying we are for women, but we don't really want to do anything about it. Oh, wow. So now we're trying to hold them accountable to get them to actually fund it. So those are the two things that we do. As far as a group, though, advice I would give to local groups is we use the acronym ACEs. Everything we do falls under activism, community service, education, or social. And the best compliment we received was from a few national organizations said that we found the right mix of groups. A lot of groups just do one thing, and we've grown to do it all. So everything we do falls under either activism, like, the Planned Parenthood, the Gideon's Bible distributions that we do, the Adopt a Highway. We do about a community service project a week. We do two educational meetings, one based on science, the other one usually religion or some other topic or environment. And then we do social. We have a game night every Friday. We do disc golf. We have movie nights to build that sense of community. If you need a ride to the doctor, the things the church offered, right. That atheist, but I don't think they can claim that anymore. We have a great community. The church serves no purpose anymore as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here in New York City, basically, is start up a group where everybody has a sense of community and everybody can come together, talk, have fun, do some social stuff, do some learning, all about things that we all care about instead of just a bunch of bullcrap Kardashian, thank God for this, thank God for that.
And I would use Meetup. If you're starting a group, Facebook is good, but I think Meetup is by far, we would not be where we are without Meetup.com if I could plug them.
I just went last night to the freaking first Meetup group that I've ever had. It was really cool because there was a lot of people, I think it was like 12 of them, just sitting there talking about philosophy, discussing a book, doing like a study group. But then somebody said that they had been doing it for 7 years, and I realized that everybody around the table was a really old white person. And it was just like, there's no diversity here, there's no young people, there's no anything, and these people have been doing this for 7 years with just this small group. It doesn't look like, at least from what I saw and from what I asked people, that it really expanded very much. So I'm trying to get something that's all-inclusive, bring everybody together, have fun and stuff like that.
I would also recommend you target groups. So I went to other meetups with other atheists in philosophy and said, here's what we're trying to do. And so I was able to pull for them. We target the LGBT community because we went to pride parades, and, we basically had the same philosophy. We targeted sex-positive polyamory groups. They're pretty much, most of them aren't very religious if they're doing this. Right. And then we also target, now our goal is we're targeting the transgender community. We're sponsoring their National Day of Remembrance, where we changed all of our bathrooms at our meetings to gender neutral.
Cool.
And try to make that friendly. And we also target disc golfers now. A lot of free thinkers playing disc golf. Who knew?
Yeah, I've noticed that that's a thing. I don't have anywhere to play disc golf around here.
New York City,
maybe that's why I have a hard time meeting other atheists in my town. There's no disc golf.
No disc golf.
We have two of the top courses in the country. We have two of the top courses in the entire country. We got the #1 free course in the country and one of the top 40. So it's a great place to be if you play disc golf. But it's just social things like that is where you really bond and get to know people. And like I said, if you do a disc golf, it's a different group than if you would do a movie night, which is a different than a book club versus a game night. So that's how you get that age diversity. And if you go to other groups, you'll get different minorities. And it's been very targeted, but that's how we have a good mix of women that are active, all different age groups.
Yeah, there should be little niches that people could find with their own communities.
Yeah.
'Cause I want to do like a coalition style thing to where all these groups exist in the city, and I'm able to keep them all connected to each other to say, hey, you guys are running an event, so let me tell all the other groups about it. Stuff like that.
Yep. So that is the meetup will allow you to do that. It is a challenge to put all this together. It's not easy to do by any means, but if you can get people active, people are looking to be active and to make a difference.
Yeah, and people are looking to hear that other perspective that they've not heard their entire life.
I will tell you this and I never thought I would. Hemant Mehta said to me one day, we were sitting there for lunch. He's like, I just don't debate anymore. I just rather focus on getting other messages out. And I'm like, are you crazy? How could you not want to debate Christians? It's my favorite thing to do. And I thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
And then, and I just didn't understand it. And this year, I'm sitting around, some buddy was trying to debate me, and I was just like, looked at my friend, I'm like, yeah, can you take care of this? I've started to lose my desire to debate people because I finally understood. I've surrounded myself with free thinkers every day, all day. So if I'm around a Christian, it's odd for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm around sane people. I've lost my desire to debate, and I'm like, I understand Hemet now. He makes so much more sense. I didn't understand that a year ago. But it's nice when you surround yourself by intelligent people all of the time.
Yeah,
and you can do that. There is enough community where you can actually do that, and it's a amazing thing.
Yeah, I keep my debates now to the page pretty much, to our Atheist Show page, because a lot of crazy creationists will come on there and they'll downvote us just because of our name. They won't actually watch.
They won't even watch an episode. They'll just be like,
and they
just
proclaim
passing
it,
through to downvote.
Yeah, they proudly say, we're just swinging by to downvote you guys, have a good day. And we're just like, fuck you. Like, what the fuck? And so what I've recently done, though, is actually discovered Reddit. Reddit has a really cool subreddit called Debate a Christian and Debate an Atheist. Yep. And doing that, I have seen some of the most intense conversations I will ever see, to where the theists won't give up. Like, they're quoting everything you're saying, and they're trying to point out these fallacies, and you're like, that's not a fallacy. And then they're just like, it is a fallacy. That's a fallacy to call it not a fallacy. And you're like, what are you doing? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm just like, at this point, I'm just like, is it worth it?
Well, it is worth it, because we get a number of people that most of us were Christian at one time, and now we're not. It's because somebody gave an argument. My wife, I'll tell you the one thing my wife said to me that started me down a path, is we were getting married Catholic. We're sitting there in front of the priest, and he's explaining the Eucharist to her, and she didn't understand it. I don't know how she didn't know Christianity in Kentucky, but she didn't understand it. She looked the priest dead in the eye and says, "You want me to eat who and drink what?" And at that point, I believed, wow, I think I believed some crazy shit. So arguments work. Now, it took me 10 years to go from Catholic to Christian to deist to agnostic to atheist, but that was the point. So somebody's going to give an argument. You're not going to get it right then and there, but I think the mistake people make is they're trying to prove a point. People only believe 20% of what you say and 80% of what they say. Mm-hmm. So if you can ask a question and plant a seed, mm-hmm. and then get them to come back to have a discussion, I think those are much more productive.
That's what I do.
Than trying to beat people in the head for an hour.
I did that earlier today with this guy about how religions debate our genitals.
Yeah, we argued with that guy for a long time today. But a lot of people ask me, like, I have my creationist cousin, and me and my creationist cousin get along surprisingly well. And a lot of people are like, I don't know how you still have her on your Facebook friends list. I don't know how you can talk to her. What the crap? Like, and I'm just like, hey,
just people.
I'm going to talk to, because, they'll see us arguing about things on my page, and they're like, how could you handle her, blah, blah, blah. I would just unfriend her because I can't handle that level of crazy. And I'm like, hey, well, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people once upon a time were that level of crazy, mm-hmm. and then somebody said the right thing to them in a polite enough fashion that it actually got through.
Yeah.
So,
well, what I always think of is when you're debating in a public space, because I keep all my posts public and everything that I do, is when you're doing it in a public area, there are so many hundreds of people that are looking through the threads and not liking anything. They don't click,
not saying anything.
They don't say anything, but they're looking and they're reading and they're thinking. And I have gotten many messages from people saying, hey, thank you so much for giving me another perspective. I never thought of things this way. Reading through your threads and your arguments, and these are people that I've never seen a like from, I've never seen a comment from. I'm just like, whoa, you guys follow me? And they're just like, thank you for putting those ideas out there. And I'm just like, well, this is worth it then. This is what it's all worth. This is what it's all for. It's for those people that lurk and don't mm-hmm. interact, but they still think because of it.
Yeah, the people, and then what I've noticed is some of my family members that are younger, and the older ones probably don't like me being impressionable upon, have started to do things like share Bernie Sanders posts and say things about how they don't see the problem with gay people, and I'm just like,
That's good.
who's the only one around that's been saying these things for years that nobody wanted them paying attention to? So it's like that's why I debate my creationist cousin, because it's not just my creationist cousin that's looking. It's other cousins. It's my younger,
I rarely
there's
care about
other
the one
people that
person
are
I'm
looking.
debating. I care about the people
Yeah,
that
it's
are looking
everybody
at the
that's
debate.
watching.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. We have a lot of creationists here, being so close to the museum. So my approach to creationists is I'm going to give you God. I'm not going to argue about that. I'm even going to give you a religion, but I can't give you the creation piece. Like, there's science, there's evidence. I just can't give you that. But I try to protect their God and their religion. Like, I'm not attacking that, but I'm just going after this one piece. And then once eventually I can peel away the creation piece, I'll be like, look, your religion's batshit crazy. I'm going to give you God. You can have God, but not your religion. And then when you can peel that away, then at that point it's easier to go after God than go after the whole thing all at once. It's just my approach and successful.
Well, there is no way to disprove it, but there are ways to rationalize it in a way that they can see, oh shit, this is crazy.
Yeah, well, because once the Adam and Eve story falls apart, once you're like, okay, well, the Adam and Eve story doesn't make any sort of sense, well, then the rest of the narrative falls apart.
Yep.
So
that's where you'll agree with Ken Ham. Ken Ham has a great quote of why they called themselves answers in Genesis and why they defend the Bible so much, because it's what you said. Ken Ham has a quote where he says, if you chip away at answers in Genesis and then that's not true, then the whole Bible falls apart. And I'm hey, we agree with you.
That's exactly true. That's
why they defend the creation story so hard, because they know if you prove that false, the rest of it's garbage.
Yeah, because that's why I don't understand Christians that aren't creationists, actually. I'm like, okay, so you believe that Jesus died for your sins? Yeah. Okay, where did that sin come from? Well, okay.
From God, duh. Everything has God in it. That's just the way it is. Just cause.
Well, because that's what my pastor told me. Well, because I went to my aunt's funeral on Friday, and it was at an Assembly of God church, and it was very much the pastor just kind of stood there for 45 minutes, and it was just all a bunch of, Galia is in heaven because I know that she gave her life to Jesus. And even though Galia was one of the nicest women I've ever met in my life, none of that matters. All that matters is that Galia gave her life to God. And if you want to see Galia in heaven, then you also need to give your life to God. And let's all pray like 5 or 6 times. Like, he just kept freaking saying that. And I'm just like, dude, really? Why? And that's what they do. It's like they're so predatory. Because it's like, oh, look at all these grieving people. Let's get them in their emotional state. And it's like, that's really the only way that you can get people to convert to Christianity is either like get them when they're little kids, or get them when they're down somehow.
Did you both hear about the article today of the 5-year-old that's going through chronic illness, and she's such a believer in heaven that next time she goes to where it's necessary to have a procedure, she would rather choose to stay home and allow herself to die and go to heaven instead of going for the medical procedure. And the parents are leaving the decision up to a 5-year-old to decide whether she should
because they believe
or decide to go to heaven to see your grandma and stuff like that. That's just happening now. We'll talk about that in another episode, though. We should probably
yeah. Okay, well, thank you for being on, Jim. We'll definitely need to have you on some other time after your billboard goes up. We can talk about
take some pictures.
Yes, it was my pleasure. I'll send you some pictures, and then I'm sure there'll be a lot of press about it afterwards. I'll come back on and tell you all the backlash we get from it.
Yes,
there's going to be a lot.
It'll be plenty.
I hope you're ready for it.
Oh, we are.
Brace yourself for impact. Yeah. All right, so thank you guys for watching. Go to our website, thatatheistshow.com. We have blog posts on there, and there is that donation button there if anybody feels so inclined to help us out with a little bit of donation money.
Make sure to subscribe below. I think it's
Subscribe.
Subscribe to our videos so that way we have more support.
And like it. If you're watching this and you like what you're watching, click the like button.
If you haven't liked it and you dislike it, then you're probably a theist. You're probably an angry religious nut.
Yeah.
Not just theist. We're not against theists. We're not anti-theist in any way. We just support an atheist perspective. That's all.
Yeah. And like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.
Thank you all for watching.
And we
have a great
will
night.
see you next week.
See you
Bye.
next Tuesday.